Hello, everyone, and welcome to our LinkedIn Live series on the 2020 second half SAP SuccessFactors release. I'm your host, Craig Powers, Managing Editor at Rizing, and I'm very excited to say that today we'll be getting to the core of the matter with the latest updates in SuccessFactors Employee Central. A few housekeeping notes. As a reminder, with so many people working from home, bandwidth might be stretched. If there are issues with the stream, hold tight, and we'll get it back online as fast as possible. So grab a drink. I'll let you decide which one, depending on what time zone you're in. And let's get going with our panelists. First, today we are lucky to have Shannon Ippolito, our Services Manager for Employee Central and Time Off Management. How are you doing, Shannon? Oh, wow.
I'm doing well, Craig. Thank you.
That's a very
You like
nice headdress, yes.
Thank you. For those who have seen others with my colleague Lauren, I don't have a fancy bow tie or suit to wear, but I do have my mini ears with my little mini bow here, and it's the Cheshire Cat in case anyone is trying to see those. So
Okay, very good.
figure very 2020 with a Cheshire Cat. So
yeah,
here we
and
go.
you got that, and plus your cat in the background, I
I
see.
do have my cat. Yes. Oh, very cat themed I am.
Yeah. Great. And along with Shannon, let me introduce Patty Csuha. She's our senior consultant for Employee Central. Welcome, Patty. Oh, you're on mute,
Oh, you're on
Patty.
mute, Patty.
I didn't know I did that. Hello.
Yeah. No worries. It's we all do it. It looks like you're looking festive, just like Shannon, with you got your tree in the background and the lights going. And
Yes, she outdid me with a tree. She outdid me with a hat.
You got to step up your game, Patty. You need
Big
to
shoes.
next time.
Great. Well, thank you, Patty, and thank you, Shannon, for joining. And what I'm going to do is just turn it over to you and let you get started.
All right. Well, first, I wanted to just introduce myself because this is Patty and myself's first time doing one of our LinkedIn Live sessions, and we're very excited to be here. My name is Shannon Ippolito, and I am the services manager with our managed services team, and I lead the Employee Central team. And just excited again to be here. I've been with Rizing now for almost 8 years, and hopefully have some knowledge that we can share with you. And I will turn over to Patty to give a brief introduction of her.
Hi, I'm Patty Csuha, and kudos to Craig for pronouncing my name correctly. And because not many people do. But I'm a senior consultant. I have been in HRIS, HR technology realm for many years in many roles. I've been working for Rising for the last 5 years as Employee Central, which I got introduced to several years back as a customer, and now I'm happy to be an Employee Central consultant.
All right, I am going to take off my ears here. Sorry, my ear mess. Okay, there we go. All right.
All right. So with this new H2 release, and by the twice a year releases, they introducing a lot of new stuff. So Shannon, what are some of your highlights or favorite parts of the new EC releases?
Yes, absolutely. My biggest one that I'm super excited about, and I've been able to play around with it a bit, is the fact that now we can configure the new hire wizard. We can have templates for our new hires. And what that means is that we can create the templates for the wizard. You don't have to just have the standard wizard anymore. Side note, it is only for like add new employee or when you add a new hire with new employment. It's not for managed pending hires yet. It's not for contingent workers yet. So understand that we're told by SAP that hopefully that's coming in the future release, hoping to see it in the first half release next year, that'll be added to use for the managed pending hires. But what it is that we can configure the new hire wizard so that you can have your blocks, so those different sections of the new hire wizard, you can rearrange those and have them in different orders than what comes standard. You can also combine some so you have less clicks when you're going through that wizard. Sometimes you have to click and then fill out some information, click and fill out information. Now you can have them more condensed and all together. Also, the biggest thing is that if you have different worker types or different populations or different countries, that you can include, exclude blocks. So for example, maybe you don't track emergency contact information for all of your workers. Maybe your temporaries you do not, but your regular employees you do. You could have separate templates so that the emergency contact would not be included for that one population. Also, the big one, the number one thing is for those customers that if you have custom MDF objects, you can now include those in the new hire wizard, which is super exciting because we've always had to hire the person and then go back into their record and update any of that information in the custom MDF. So that one, again, just EC, we don't get too many like really exciting innovations, especially the past few years. It's been minor tweaks and updates here and there. So again, I'm kind of really excited about that one.
I'm excited about that too. I mean, I just had somebody that had payment information for only some countries, and this would have been perfect because you couldn't turn it off.
Yes, exactly. That is perfect. It's also permissionable. So if you don't want users to be able to see the templates and just use the standard wizard, you just update your permission roles accordingly. So again, really great functionality that has come out this release for that. Another one that I have here is with regards to the skipping approvers in a workflow. So if you have multiple approvers, single approvers in a row consecutively, you can turn on skip consecutive approvers in the workflow so that one approver does not have to keep going into that record to approve it. And examples of that, of where you would see that, is if you have, for example, an approver that's a manager, and then that person is also in a dynamic role, for example, maybe a finance head or a department head, and then so on. So if you have some dynamic roles along with your standard roles, then you can turn this on so that they can skip those additional approval steps. So again, really great for those that have complex workflow approvals. Now, we'll note, again, it is consecutive steps. So if I'm an approver in the first step, and then there's an approver, and then I'm also an approver in the third step, it's still going to send it to me in that third step. It's not going to be able to skip me that way. It's only if they're right in a row. And again, it's single approvers. So for example, dynamic groups would not be applicable to the skip approver.
And can you see that the user was skipped within the workflow?
Yes, thank you. Exactly. So in the audit of the workflow, when you go to that workflow details page and you see the approvers, you're going to see it skipped. And actually, you see it straight up front when the person submitting it. It actually will show you skipped. If you show the workflow participants, it's going to show you right there as well.
Nice, very nice.
That is nice. And then the other one that I do like, again, with the contingent workers, for those that have contingent workforce management configured, now we can have event reasons. So before, just one event reason defaulted, or perhaps you created business rules to default those those event reasons. We can now have that drop down just like we see in our regular employee new hire wizard. We have that option to have additional event reasons for contingents. And again, we can now include the live profile in the contingent worker. So right now, it's in production now. Previously, we couldn't have in the profile if any profile information show up for the contingent. So now that is available for the contingent workers as well. So again, making additional improvements to that contingent workforce management functionality.
All things that people have been asking.
Yes. This definitely was a release that, SuccessFactors and SAP are showing us that they're listening to the customers and looking at the influence and putting those new options in. So Patty, those were a few of mine. Now, I know that we also, when we talk about Employee Central, we don't necessarily talk about platform. Platform is called out separately in our release notes. So are there some platform items that you found that are kind of key for our Employee Central clients?
Yeah, one of the things that they've done with the platform that really is helpful with Employee Central is the directory search, that they've improved it. So lots of things that they've added, being able to control which fields you can see within the directory search, who can see emails, about exporting. You can also now search special characters and tags, but you can add your those custom filters or those custom fields 1 through 15 from your profile. As long as they're in as a custom filter, they'll also appear in the directory search, which is nice.
That is, again, one that I know so many have asked, right? Can we add those in?
Yeah, you can never get things like, if you have a legal entity or something, it was never one of those options, which was only Employee Central that needed it. And things too, the national ID was a big one. People have been wanting to, to be able to find your past users users, you don't know their employee number, you know their national ID, or search them by their hire date as a range, a hire date to and from. It does get permissioned. It can be disabled. It's some of the limitations is they no longer have the box for including inactive users, but if you have permission to inactive users, it will show in the directory search. So that's a nice one. Another big thing that they've added, which is really kind of platform, but kind of employee central, is that internal job history. And anybody who's had Employee Central for a while prior to the people profile may have seen this before, and then it was never compatible with people profile, so it's back, but there's also a lot of new users that haven't seen it before. What you can do here is have kind of a summary box of your internal job history. So similar to what you see in your background information for your prior history, where you can just define which fields, a few fields for your job history where you can see it all in one screen without having to go into your history and clicking on each history record to see it. And it's real easy to set up. It's a block within your people profile. You define which fields you want to show. If the user doesn't have permission to those fields, it won't display. And then you write a business rule. There's a new business rule scenario for the internal job history, and you define what condition it could be. And it could be something complex. It could be something simple. You could use the field that comes on the event reason that says, display an internal job history. You just say, if that equals yes, those are the event reasons you're going to display. So you could set it up by this event reason. It's nice, a nice thing for managers and stuff to just have that nicer view of their employees. And like I said, for some people that kind of lost it when we got people profile, they have that back again.
Yes, that is huge for our older EC customers. Absolutely. I know that's always been, when is that coming back? When is that coming back? It's been on the roadmap. It's been off the roadmap. So for them to finally come through with us, it's just so many folks are going to be happy. And it's also nice because it helps with certain permission roles, right? That you don't want to give them all that EC history. So now with that, you can easily give them, again, that snapshot from permission perspective versus having them actually having access to the EC data.
Yeah. Let's see. Another one that is really helpful is the option to set all fields as expanded. And that's especially for EC who have those bigger blocks of fields like job information where you have to hit show more, and it just defaults. It just shows the first like 10 or so fields, and then you have to hit show more to see the rest. And sometimes that's obvious. Sometimes it's really just one field that's hidden there and you just wish it was expanded. So it's a general setting within people profile to expand, set all fields expanded by default, and everything is automatically expanded to show more. Even your things like your MDFs, like your payment information, where you might have multiple records, they're all expanded there. You don't have to hit
And
the show
again,
more.
so just to clarify that, because I know I misunderstood that when it first came out, is that it is a general setting. Patty corrected me, I will admit it.
I was telling people wrong incorrectly also at the beginning.
It is a general setting. So it's not block by block or portlet by portlet. It's like an all or nothing, right, setting that you have to turn on.
Yeah. And then one other one which has had a few clients kind of looking for is the config UI in the workflow. And that is when you're using that custom configuration UI, which a lot of people use, especially on their position management. They may have that overlay that makes it a little more formatted. And then when it goes through the workflow approval, you suddenly lose all that formatting, and the person approving it just sees the list of fields. So now that config UI is supported within the workflow too. Sometimes you might have a field in that UI that hides certain fields that are just being used in the background, and suddenly they're displayed in that workflow and they get confusing to users. So something else that is very user facing and makes it easier for clients and users of the system. So it's nice.
Yeah, definitely. User experience is definitely forefront, you can tell, with this release. Great.
Yeah, those were the only things I can think of.
Okay. All right. So then I have also, along with the core EC pieces and our platform pieces, there's also a few time off ones too that have come out with this release, which is pretty awesome. The one thing is the ad hoc time accounts. So in order excuse me, in order to give a balance in a bookable period, like you can only take this time for this specific time, we didn't really have that flexibility to grant that ad hoc. If you have an employee here or there or a specific group of employees, without having to really disrupt your time profiles. So now we have ad hoc time accounts, and a good example of this is like a relocation. Perhaps somebody is relocating and you want to give them some time off, and you want to be able to track that time off and give them a specific time period that they use that time off for. You can create this ad hoc time account. You can set it up as a time account type. You have a specific field that you say this is an ad hoc time account, and then you are able to manually go in. So there's nothing from an automatic accrual or creation process that happens like we see in our other time account types. You go into then the employee directly through managed data, and you create that time account for them and have the validity and bookable periods in there. So again, it's just giving us a great flexible option, especially, I think this was key for coming out into the 2020 timeframe where people, a lot of organizations are trying to be much more flexible with their time off and trying to be creative in their ways of granting some extra time off. And this is just a great one that they'll be able to use going into 2021.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another one is cross midnight absences and cross midnight work schedules. So that goes hand in hand. Again, a huge win. Also, just to clarify, this is for absences. It is not for timesheet customers. So this still is not workable in the timesheet, but it's workable for your absences. And previously, if you had shifts that work cross midnight, employees would have to request the first part of their time off, and then go in and put in a second request for that second part of the time if it crossed over that midnight. So now we can create work schedules that there is a checkbox now when you do the particular work schedule to cross midnight, so that you can truly put in, like a 10 p.m. to a 3 a.m. or something, whatever that time frame may be. And then when the employee goes to request their time off, if they're requesting, certain hours, they can do that, or they can request a day and they don't have to do two separate requests. It just simplifies that process. Again, another thing people have really been asking for. It's been a huge gap in the functionality there. So to see this come through again is super exciting. Again, though, only for absences, not for the timesheet. So that is big. And then with that comes a new view in our team absence calendar. So now in the team absence calendar, you can have a by day view and see it by the hour. So if your employees are able to request by time, by specific hours, you can now see that. And again, you'll be able to see that cross midnight right there in that team absence view. And so that, again, just great improvement that they've made there.
Very nice.
Okay, I think those were some of the highlights. I don't know, Patty, if you thought of anything else as we were walking through.
Let's look at some of the questions.
I think we had a question come through too. Let's see. Oh, someone has asked with regards to the audit and that skipping approver in the workflow. If the audit part will be okay. And I'll be honest, I haven't personally tested that to verify that, but I'm going to say yes, that will show up in the audit as well as skipped, just like it does in the workflow details screen, that in the audit, it will show that skipped as well.
Yeah, I would think that since they're actually capturing that information and showing it as skip,
Right.
that it would show in that audit report as well.
Correct. And the date would be the date that it is submitted as far as the skipped piece, right? Because that's, again, when you submit it, you're seeing that immediately that they're skipped. So I'm thinking that date timestamp is going to show you that as well, but we'll have to confirm that.
I see another question here about the expanded view. So the expanded view is specific to viewing the screen on People Profile. The editing is still within People Profile. It wouldn't automatically be expanded there, but you can on certain portlets define how many fields are showing before you see the show more on that screen. So you can raise that number there, and I don't know if there's a maximum that you can do there, but you can't do
I'm
the.
not sure. But yeah, I know you
Yeah.
can change the number. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Are there any other questions
Yeah.
that have come through?
Yeah. I have my glasses on, but they aren't that strong.
Okay, let's see. All right, sorry, just scroll through, making sure we didn't miss anything.
Yeah, not seeing.
Hey, Craig.
Hey, I'm back. So I had a couple questions that we got sent beforehand before the stream. One was on. Let me pull them up. So this person said they saw a new gender field available with this release. Do you have more details on that?
Oh, yes, thank you. So there is now a new gender field. So as we know, we have our standard gender field and personal information. Again, it's a global field that is available. And although some customers think it's a pick list, it's not, right? It's a hard-coded enum in the background. And you have two options to have. You have male, female, or you have your expanded list that has a couple more options, but it's not very specific. So now with this release, we have a gender field available per country. So it's a standard field delivered in the country-specific fields. And what it is, again, we like to have standard fields where we can. And you can now create your own custom pick lists to go with that. So again, to track, if you need to track non-binary values or other type of gender information that aren't just, the standard male, female, or other, you can now do that. And they are delivering a pick list, standard pick list for India and Germany that you'd be able to get. Otherwise, you can create your own. For customers, I know some have already created their own custom fields, both in personal information and in the country. Obviously, we would not recommend you necessarily changing that or moving that because you may have other replication or integration impacts from that. But if anyone has not implemented, we would definitely recommend now that you would enable this standard field. Again, we love to be standard when we can and utilize that. So again, really great option that they brought to us.
Great. Yeah. Thanks for that explanation.
Yeah, thanks.
I have one more. So this one's on Admin Alerts 2.0. So what exactly is Admin Alerts 2.0? So they were this person saw updates for it, but they don't think they use it. So
yeah. So
Andy, what is Update Admin 2.0?
So the SuccessFactors has updated their admin alerts, which most people weren't aware of before. It was always kind of hidden over in the admin center, and if you didn't upgrade to the next gen admin center, you missed it as well. So and it had a lot of useful information, but in this release, things like data issues and things like that. But in this release, last release actually, they put it front and center on the home page. And if you have permission for it's kind of like a one-stop place for those administrators that have a bunch of tasks to do that they can monitor in one thing. So you could see things like your pending hires, your data issues, replication issues, monitor your workflows, like your stalled workflows and all those things. So instead of going to various areas in Admin Center, it's all in this one little portlet. It's each I can't talk here. they introduced it last release. This release, they've been adding more and more things to it. So I'll probably see in future releases even other things. But it's always good to even, like most clients don't even know that data issues is there. And then they see it and they see that they have all of these data issues. Things like when you may disable a location and there's active employees in it. This is where it's going to show you that doing this is going to impact your data, so you can keep that clean, or just getting to, like I said, your workflows and your hires.
Yeah, I find right with the workflows, that's always a big one. When we go
Mhm.
into clients' instances and I see that there, I'm like, ooh, like some of them are some big numbers. So again, it's just I think if you haven't seen it, you should go and make sure it's
Mhm.
permission because it's permissionable.
Yes.
That you have it turned on, you can go look at. I think you're going to be potentially surprised by some of the larger numbers of issues that you may see there. And again, it's just
Mhm.
to help you better manage and maintain your system from a data perspective.
Mhm. Yeah. Most often you might see lots of data issues that are really just one piece of foundation data, so it's not
Yeah.
that difficult to
Yeah.
fix.
And if you're newly implemented, like we often see
Mhm.
that too, right? Because it's probably some of that migrated historical data that may just be coming up and you just know to probably ignore that
Mhm.
ultimately. But yeah.
Great. Well, thank you, Patty and Shannon, for answering that question on Admin Alerts 2.0. So I don't see any other comments other than so I see Sarah. I see your comment. We'll go ahead and reach out to you afterwards for that one. That might be a little complicated for us to address right now. But again, Shannon and Patty, thank you so much for joining us, talking
Mhm.
EC. Working on our cores, as they always say, um, which is something we probably all need to do during the pandemic. So,
Yeah.
A little bit.
yeah. So again, Patty, Shannon, thank you.
Thank you.
That's all. That's all we have for everyone
Mhm.
today. I'll remind you that we'll be back tomorrow looking at Employee Central Payroll, and we'll wrap up this release with recruiting on Wednesday. So 2 more to go, but we have a ton of backlog that you can watch. They're not live anymore, but you can watch the recordings. And they're again this week. They'll be at the same time on Tuesday and Wednesday, 5 Eastern in North America, which is 9 a.m. Eastern in Australia. You can find the whole schedule on the Rizing HCM LinkedIn page, and like I said, all those recordings. And you can also you can also check out the Rizing blog for expanded analysis on the H2 2020 release. So we have a bunch of blogs on there covering all the same topics. So thank you very much, and we'll see you tomorrow.